It is that time, the Golf on CBS show. Shane Bacon, Patrick McDonald, Johnson Wagner. Fellas, typically we start the show talking about who won the past week. That's not what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about who lost to kick things off. Patrick, you and I were, joining CBS HQ over the weekend. Got a chance to chat with them on Sunday, talk about Shane Lowry and just kind of Shane Lowry trying to be Shane Lowry and maybe push out all the noise. And he did that for 15 holes, and then the noise caught up to him. And Patrick, we had about as big a collapse as I can remember in the last 4 or 5 years of professional golf.
It was shocking because you look at Shane these last handful of years, and he's obviously had difficulties closing tournaments. Just go to the Dubai Invitational that he touched on after his round, where he was in the middle of the fairway, just needed a par on the 72nd hole, made double bogey to boot that one away on the DP World Tour. And you kind of felt like something was coming all day, but once he got into the middle of his round, it was like, okay, this seems like it's going to be different, right? He got the bounces, he got the long putts to drop. It just seemed like he was so in control. And then with one swing, it just completely abandoned him off the tee on number 16. And after 16th tee, I really wasn't too surprised about the shot on 17 too, as painful as it is to say, just because of what we've seen with Lowry down the stretch there. But yeah, whenever you lead this conversation with the loser, not the winner, obviously something drastic had to happen. And unfortunately for Shane, it's probably going to take a while for him to take the positives out of how well he did play those first 69 holes.
Johnson, there are stressful shots down the stretch around PGA National. The tee shot at 16, not typically one that comes to mind. I mean, when you kind of whiff the iron that far into the water off the tee, I mean, that's between the ears, not necessarily golf swing, wind induced, any of that stuff. I mean, that's simply a guy that, when he talked about it after, did not feel comfortable over the golf ball.
Yeah, it was shocking to see that ball end up where it did, especially for a guy that plays such a beautiful, low stinger sort of long iron shot. It's a pretty easy tee shot for him. Just hit it at that left fairway bunker and let it go. But he did say that he was trying to get a little bit more out of that 3-iron to really push it down there a bit further. But a couple things. I'm so excited and happy that he spoke to the media. It was just a year. Colin Morikawa had that crushing loss at Bay Hill and just walked out, didn't talk to anybody. So I think it showed a lot of character for Shane to stand up and answer those questions. And one of the things he said in that press conference that really stood out to me was he thought about his daughter running out there and giving him a big hug. And as we know, that anybody that's played professional golf, you start planning your acceptance speech, you start thinking about what's going to happen while you're on the golf course. Well, that's a surefire way for it not to happen. So I think he maybe got just a touch ahead of himself.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, Johnson, first and foremost. I mean, you touching on, the press conference thing. I mean, so many times when you lose and you stand in front of the media, you gain so much respect from people in the media. You gain respect from fans. I mean, I go back to, some of the guys that have had epic major championship losses that have kind of been honest about what was going on. Rarely do you walk away frustrated that they did that, right? I mean, almost every time they talk, you get something good out of it because they're just broken down and being honest about what was going on. But I think you nailed it. I mean, the fact that he was thinking so far ahead about something that was well beyond his in terms of the golf tournament. Like, I've had rounds where I've put my golf club on my bag after my final shot on 18 as we walk up to the green, and all of a sudden you're kind of already checked out. You put the keys away before you get to the green and you 3-putt. Like, it's very easy to kind of be done with the round before you're done with the round,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. You just have to stay in it till the very end. I remember I played the Sony Open in 2012, and I just knew I was going to win. Shot 5 under on the front 9 Thursday, and I'm just marching down the fairway. I know I'm going to win. I know I'm going to win. Well, it's Thursday. I ended up shooting 4 over on the back 9 and getting sort of punched in the mouth. And I just think that's very similar to what happened to Shane on Sunday. He got ahead of himself and at a really hard time in the middle of the bear trap.
I mean, Patrick, is this who this guy is now? I mean, you and I went through his resume on Sunday. We talked about, I mean, as decorated as a player as he is, and I think as much as we talk about him as a player, I mean, he had that Open Championship win, which was kind of incredible out-of-body experience. But, I mean, this is a guy, you mentioned the last kind of individual event he won was short of 54 holes. Like, is this kind of who Shane Lowry is, or do you think he can recover and find a way to close out golf tournaments when he has a chance to win?
I think we kind of just have to refocus the the picture around him. I'm not ready to label him a choker quite yet, just because, we had this conversation with Tommy Fleetwood just last year, to less than a year ago. Tommy Fleetwood can't close. Tommy Fleetwood can't win. We had the conversation around Rory McIlroy when he couldn't win a major championship for over a decade, with the 22 Open, 23 U.S. Open, 24 U.S. Open, and even guys like Xander Schauffele when he struggled to close at certain points in his career. So I think we just have to kind of reframe who Shane Lowry is as a player, right? Maybe he's never going to be the elite top end type of guy, despite a major championship, right? He has 4 wins on the DP World Tour and 2 on the PGA Tour, also in addition to that major championship in 2019. But like you said, Shane, he hasn't won since then. The BMW PGA was shortened due to the death of the Queen when he won that tournament too. I will say the one thing going in his favor, and this is kind of what I was critical of Fleetwood of too, is Lowry's putting himself in this position a lot more often these days. And that was just not the case really in the early 2000s and even the late 2010s too. He's 1 for 6 at the 54-hole mark in his career. Obviously, the 2 major championships, the 2016 U.S. Open, where he had the lead at Oakmont and booted that away, and the 2019 Open were the first 2. But the last 4 have all come since 2024. So he's continuously putting himself in this position. And whenever you do that, I just imagine the door is eventually going to swing open for this guy again, too.
Johnson, is it good for somebody like Shane Lowry to have a tournament this week? I mean, is it better to go right back out there and play golf? Or do you think it's better if he had a couple of weeks off and could kind of get away from it?
No, I think it's good that he's playing Bay Hill. I think it's good he's got the Players coming up after that. Get it out of your mind. Go out there and play some great golf. And I think the fact that he spoke to the media, the fact that he'll be in media both at Bay Hill and Players, I think is a good thing for him. He's not a choker. Think about back to Bethpage. He made the clinching putt. The putt he made when everything was going sideways for the European team. Shane Lowry stepped up in the biggest moment and absolutely buried that birdie putt on 18 to win. So I think he's a closer. I think this golf course and this tournament means a ton to him at the Cognizant Classic at PGA National. He's been close there so many times. I think he just needs to get over the hump of winning around PGA National. I think he'll be just fine.
Johnson, I mean, you kind of speaking at the Ryder Cup is interesting because when you think about, not the superstars of the European Ryder Cup team over the last 15, 20 years, you kind of have a lot of guys that fit the mold of Shane Lowry. They can step up at Ryder Cups and pull off these incredible shots and putts. Obviously, we focused on Ian Poulter for years and years, but for whatever reason, didn't play that level of golf in terms of individual stroke play. I mean, Shane Lowry, to your point, makes the birdie, walks up 18, telling his caddy, can you imagine having this moment, that I'm about to have with a chance to win the Ryder Cup, and he makes the putt? Like, it almost feels like they're 2 different players when the Ryder Cups go on versus when they're out there alone. And to me, Shane Lowry is one of those players that feels the most comfortable when he's on that team, much like we saw with Ian Poulter. I think Justin Rose at times has played his best golf on European Ryder Cup teams as well. You go back to Colin Montgomery, right? Colin Montgomery, who's a guy we talk so much about in terms of winning golf tournaments and not winning golf tournaments. You don't want to face that guy in a Ryder Cup.
Absolutely not. Tommy Fleetwood in 23, in the middle of us saying he can't win golf tournaments, he's the one that clinches the point for the Europeans at Marco Simone. So yeah, you have a good point there, Shane.
It's just so interesting that you think about Shane Lowry, and Patrick, we do this with golfers a decent amount. I think that Shane Lowry is a popular figure just because of who he is. Maybe, some of the shots he's pulled off. I think the Open Championship was a huge moment in professional golf when he won that one, with the crowd behind him. And obviously he's a part of TGL, plays alongside Rory a lot, always on the European Ryder Cup team. But I think sometimes it's like the anti-Kenny Perry, right? When you look at the Wikipedia page and you're a bit surprised at how little he's won compared to some of these guys we maybe don't talk as much about, like Kenny Perry, Stuart Sink, guys like that, who have kind of had incredibly sneaky careers.
I am curious about, those not mid-tier, that'd be kind of just disrespectful to them in their careers, but the level beneath the Rorys and the Rahms in the European Ryder Cup, and how maybe being on that team and knowing you have those guys backing you up almost frees you up a little bit, because those guys like Fleetwood, they've obviously have struggled down the stretch of tournaments. And Lowry, like you mentioned, Shane, is this becoming a thing or not? He hasn't acquitted himself so great in 2026 down the stretch of tournaments. So I'm curious if there's something, knowing you have those guys behind you, that frees these guys up and really allows them to fulfill their full potential. But yeah, you talk about Lowry with a guy who's won the DP World Tour flagship event. He's won the Open Championship. He's made the clinching putt at the Ryder Cup. He won as an amateur at the Irish Open too. And for whatever, like, those are his wins, and there's not really too much after that as well. A World Golf Championship more than a decade ago too, at a golf course that the PGA Tour no longer visits. But his wins have really been all big wins, which I think does say something about Lowry too, in that sense as well.
Yeah, if you need like positive Shane Lowry moments in your life this week, go watch when he made the putt as an amateur to win on the DP World Tour. It's like a great moment on the green. He just goes completely nuts and was dancing around. Very good video. Johnson, I always say when somebody kind of punts a golf tournament away, typically there's somebody that played a great final round to get it done, right? You think about Faldo in 96. I mean, he played awesome. Bogey free, I think 67 in that final round. I mean, you think about Dan Willett, Patrick, I know I brought up Schwartzel as well. I mean, some of these guys that have kind of picked up a green jacket when the person that you thought was going to win didn't get it done. I mean, that's always what happens, is somebody has to play great golf. I mean, Nico doesn't make a bogey on the weekend. 3 of his 4 rounds are bogey free, shoots 66 on Saturday and Sunday. And when nobody else was kind of making that move, he was right there with an opportunity to now become a 3-time winner on the PGA Tour. Like, that's something, right? Winning 3 times, I mean, in a relatively quick pace when you look at what he's done.
And it's been just shocking to see how his career is transforming. I mean, this year he's made 2 cuts on the PGA Tour. That was an 8th place finish at Pebble, and then the win here. This is kind of his makeup. When he plays well, he's going to have a chance to win. When he doesn't, he's missing cuts. And honestly, you take a poll of PGA Tour players, would you like to have Nico Echavarria's last 3 years or someone who's making every cut? Well, I know for me personally, I'd like to be the one that's winning. I think he is fearless coming down the stretch when he's got a chance. I mean, watching him win the Zozo a couple years ago was amazing. I was on site in Puerto Rico, and he took hold of that tournament in 2023 and never let up. So Nico Echavarria, I truly believe he's going to be a President's Cupper this year, and it would not surprise me at all to see him get back in contention multiple times in the next few months, because that's the kind of game he has. He's really good in the wind as well.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick moved up 6 spots. I think he's 4th now on the International President's Cup standings, likely going to make that team. You were high on him over the weekend. I mean, you really like the guy's game. And I think something you've talked a lot about, Patrick, with Nico, is his ability to kind of stay near the top of the lead when he's got it grooving.
Well, Johnson talked about the volatility. His career is hilarious when you look at it. Look at his rookie year. I think he made just a handful of cuts, and one of those included that win at Puerto Rico. He has 6 top 5 finishes on the PGA Tour in his career, 7 if you include the Zurich Classic. 2 of those have come at the RSM Classic these last couple of years. And then you have the 3 wins, and the other one was the playoff loss to Nick Taylor at the Sony Open. So like Johnson said, whenever this guy gets himself in the mix, it's not often, as we've seen with the volatility of it, but it's about a handful of times per year. And that's a pretty good living if you can make it, right? Nico Echavarria, knowing that he's going to be in contention 2-3 times a year on the PGA Tour, and knowing with how much confidence he has in this position that he gets it done pretty often at this rate, is a really good place to be. And then you mentioned the game, just a guy who seems to have a real sense of the moment, which I don't think can be said for a lot of players, and someone who, like Johnson said, making that putt on 17 when he knew he had to have it. He mentioned the shot maybe was a little too far right for his liking, but he still hit. Yeah, he still hit a good shot in there, bided enough space there on the right side, and knocked it in when he had to. And I think that says a lot about his character right now.
I don't think right of that flagstick is maybe the line you're looking at, but it's definitely where you want to putt from, as we saw with Nico picking up his 3rd win. Well, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and kind of really dive into some of our dreams for 2026. I mean, we had Anthony Kim pick up a win on Live. It was a great moment a few weeks ago in professional golf. So what are some of our dream scenarios for 2026? And we're talking Grand Slams, major wins, comebacks, all that and more. Don't go anywhere. All right, fellas, time to dream a little dream. Patrick, Johnson, you guys good to kind of get a little weird for the rest of the year? You guys okay with that? I kind of was thinking a little bit about Anthony Kim winning and how, 2, 3, 4 years ago, if I'd have told either of you guys Anthony Kim's going to win some golf tournament, making these crazy putts down the stretch, no matter if it was Live or the Korn Ferry or PGA Tour or whatever, I don't think anybody would have believed it. Which got me thinking, what other things could happen this season that I think would get us and the non-golf world excited? And so, Patrick, I'm going to start with you in terms of anything that could happen in pro golf. I mean, you could take one of the guys that are one win away from a slam, Rory going back-to-back at Augusta. Nelly Korda going crazy in the LPGA in terms of major championships. What do you think is kind of a dream for you in the pro golf world?
So it's pretty tame, which I know you're probably disappointed with coming to me first. But I'm looking holistically here at the PGA Tour season and the signature events in particular. We were promised bill of goods about how the best player in the world are all playing alongside each other and how they're going to be dueling down the stretch of these tournaments more often. And, for one reason or another, like we haven't seen Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy go head to head since the 2022 Tour Championship.
No duels.
You look at the guys who have kind of dueled in these big events. It's been okay, like Scheffler Griffin, that's great, or Fleetwood Bradley at the Travelers, or Bobby Mack and Scheffler at the BMW, Rose and Spahn at St. Jude Championship. That's all fine and dandy, but I need to see something that we haven't seen, and whether that's Rory and Scotty at the peak of their powers going head to head on Sunday, or maybe you throw in a Jordan Spieth back in there, or Ricky Fowler, or Justin Thomas. Now we're really dreaming. Those are pipe dreams with the way some of those guys are playing, but just seeing the fan favorites, the big names, the elite of the elite go head to head on the biggest fields at the biggest events is something that the signature events have yet to produce, in my opinion. And I hope we get it a couple times this season. And I wouldn't be surprised if this weekend is one of those instances.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick, I was thinking about kind of moments, if you will, where the biggest names are going at it. I mean, what was that playoff a few years ago with it was DJ and Rahm, and they both made the lengthy putts? Like, that's kind of where my head goes. The duel in the sun
was COVID.
A time ago, right? Yeah, I mean, that was 2020, 2021. I mean, you're talking 5-6 years ago when that went down. I mean, Rahm obviously doesn't play on the PGA Tour anymore. I mean, it seems like you don't get this that often, Johnson. I mean, we would beg all the time for Phil Tiger, right? Let's see if Phil and Tiger can go at in a major championship. We got a taste of it at times, but never that moment like Watson Nicholas. And I do wish we got a little bit more of that because tennis gets it all the time. Obviously, you get it in the NBA a lot, occasionally in baseball, but rarely do we get to see it in golf. Where are you going, Johnson? What is a dream you're hoping to see this season in golf?
Well, it was from the year 2000 to the year 2025 before we saw anybody complete the career Grand Slam after Tiger. And before that, you've got to go way back as well. And we are living in this incredible moment where we have Jordan Spieth now since 2017 going for the career Grand Slam at the PGA Championship. I don't think he's going to get it done at Aronimink. I think it's going to be next year at PGA Frisco that he gets it done in his hometown. But I think Scotty Scheffler, if we could have back-to-back seasons of people winning the career Grand Slam, I just think there's nothing like it. And for Scotty to do it first attempt on his birthday, the stars are aligning. It's one of my favorite golf courses in the world, possibly my favorite U.S. Open venue, Shinnecock Hills. I just think that it wouldn't get any better for me than that. And then if you think about Rahm and Xander and the other guys that have two majors that are different majors, I mean, in the next 10 years, we could have 4 or 5 guys completing this career Grand Slam, which I think is an unbelievable accomplishment and speaks to the true overall quality of a player's game.
No Phil mentioned there. You don't think Phil's going to go qualify for the U.S. Open or anything? You just said we're writing that off, you think?
At Shinnecock.
He's had a couple good chances at Shinnecock. Maybe he could.
He's had both moments at Shinnecock. Let me just say that. We've seen the good and the bad from Phil there. I was kind of along the same line as you, Johnson. I was thinking about Jordan Spieth. I was thinking about the PGA. I just don't see it happening. I love the fact that you're throwing Frisco out there. I'd love to see it happen. That would be a dream scenario next year for sure, and especially with the lineup of the majors next year. I mean, you got Pebble and St. Andrews and Augusta. Having that happen at Frisco would be huge for the PGA Championship. I'm going to go a different way with Jordan, though. I want to see Jordan get back in the hunt at Augusta. I want to see Jordan Spieth play another great 4 days, 3.5 days at the Masters. And to Pat, I'm taking a little bit of both of you guys' pieces here because I would love to see Spieth versus Rory, Spieth versus Scotty, kind of old Texas, new Texas going at it at Augusta National. We got a glimpse of this in 2016. If you remember Rory and Jordan final pairing on Saturday, that's when Rory shot 77 and didn't make a birdie. And that was the famous, how the hell's this guy 2 under, when he looked at Jordan on like 12 or 13. At that point, Rory couldn't believe the way he was playing, considering where he was hitting the golf ball. But getting some Jordan in the mix at Augusta once again. I mean, there was a time, Patrick, where we thought this was going to be who Jordan Spieth was. He was never not going to have a great Masters. And it's been probably been since, was it the Patrick Reed Masters, the last time he was really seriously in the hunt to maybe win?
Oh gosh, and that took a magical final round even for him to get into that mix, right? And gosh, if Patrick Reed didn't hit the flagstick there on 17, Jordan doesn't hit the tree branch on 18. My first stop at Augusta this past year, Shane, you'll like this, first time going to Augusta National was to see that tree off 18, just to see what happened there in 2018.
Point up to it. Sicko move there.
Yeah. Took a picture with it with my finger pointing at it. But yeah, it's been a while. He had that, what was that, 23, when him and Phil in the final round kind of fed off each other and both shot something in the mid 60s when Rahm won, I believe. But yeah, really no great chance since 18. And 18 even was a little bit of a far cry. It took something just magical on Sunday.
Yeah, it would be fun. I mean, again, I just feel like if you think about Jordan Spieth in terms of a major championship, the Open might play into his hands as well, depending on where they play it, maybe next year at St. Andrews. But for me, obviously, it's worked so well at Augusta in the past. It would be fun. Anything else? Anybody got anything else that maybe was like a secondary dream that you jotted down that you were hoping for? I mean, I'd love to see Nelly win another major this year. I think that would be huge for the LPGA and for women's golf, just to see her get back in the mix in that space. I'd like to see Rahm make a run at a major. I mean, you think about what he did at the PGA last year. That's kind of the only time we've seen him pop at a major since he joined LIV. I mean, Rahm having this long stretch of no major wins, I think is not great for professional golf. He was one of those guys. But Johnson, anything else besides obviously kind of what you touched on that you'd love to see? I mean, just something special happening?
I think we're going to get a press conference out of Brian Rolap next week at the Players Championship, and I'd like to see some clarity in the PGA Tour schedule going forward. I think it's been pretty widely speculated that he'd like to have this tier system on the PGA Tour. I'd like to have some clarity. Are we going to see that in 27? Are we going to see playoff events move to the West Coast? I think everything schedule-wise for the Tour is so up in the air, and I'd like to know what's actually going to happen.
That's a good one. See, that's why you go back to Johnson Wagner. That's why he's a pro. He just did radio for like 2 hours, and he's just still humming. He's still throwing 95 in the 7th. No worries about Johnson Wagner. Well, we're going to move on. Let's chat a little Bay Hill after the break. Dive into the signature event, of course, Arnie's Place. Really interesting golf course, I'll say that. Kind of really test the pros in terms of what the golf course presents. Par threes are not easy, so we'll jump into Bay Hill after the break. All right, time to talk a little golf. Headed our way on Thursday. Bay Hill Club and Lodge. Take your hat off as you enter, or someone will tell you to do so. Arnie's Place golf course. Man, it is a test, Johnson. It's a golf course that, asks a lot of questions from the pros. Ton of water, ton of trouble. I mean, there are times when the conditions are tough and the golf course is firm, where not a lot of guys are under par. I'm assuming one of the tougher golf courses that you've played in terms of PGA Tour golf in your career.
Absolutely, Shane. When you think about Bay Hill, you can guarantee a couple things. You can guarantee rough, a lot of tough angles on some tee shots too, starting on the first hole, the third hole. All the holes bend and they have these dog legs, and you have to be able to put the ball in play. It's not the type of golf course you can afford to be coming out of the rough for 72 holes and think that you're going to have a chance to play. My favorite thing about Bay Hill is the fact that when Arnie was still there, and even after they've continued, the golf course is not gettable, but it's playable Thursday, Friday. But once Friday hits, when there's no weather in the forecast like we have this week, the greens change color overnight. I don't know how they do it, if they just simply stop watering them, if they're sucking the moisture out with sub-air, but it's like Friday afternoon to Saturday afternoon, you're on a completely different golf course. It's the golf I like to play, and it's the golf I love watching. I want to see these guys thinking about where they're going to land the ball, trying to keep the ball on the green. 17th hole comes to mind. Par 3 on Sunday. The pin's always on that far right-hand side. I can't tell you how many times I've tried to slice a 5-iron and get it close to that hole, and time again, it just one hops right over the back of the green and leaves a brutal up and down. It's just, it's one of my favorite weeks of the year. Wish Arnold was still around. That's an awesome handshake when you walk off that green on Sunday.
Johnson, was the money game still going at Bay Hill? What is that, Monday, Tuesday, where everybody gets their own card? Have you played in that? I'm assuming you've probably spent a little bit of time involved in that. I think I played in it years ago, maybe with Robert Dameron's dad, and you just cruise around in about 2.5 hours. I mean, it is Arnie's money game if there ever was one.
I never got to play in that one. I guess I needed to spend some more time in Orlando, but that sounds like a good deal. Sounds like what we have at Quail Hollow. Take your own cart, play in 2.5 hours. I know Arnold had a big influence on Quail Hollow and the Harris family that started that club, so he taught us some good things up here.
Patrick, the golf course, I mean, some of the holes, I think if you and I were to go out and play them, who knows what we'd score on those holes. But, I mean, they're different. I mean, Johnson, kind of laid out the dog legs and some of the tee shots you have to hit. I mean, this golf course, the par threes are so tough. I mean, as the week goes on, really demanding to make threes on the par threes in a single day. If you make a birdie, you feel like you're stealing one. But, I mean, it is, to me, kind of what modern professional golf should potentially look like. If you hit an errant tee shot, you're going to make a bogey or a double.
Yeah, and you just look at the two guys last year who are coming down the stretch, two of the more accurate drivers on the PGA Tour, and Russell Henley and Colin Morikawa. So if it plays firm and fast like it hopefully should, I know there might be a little weather in the area early in the week, but come weekend, it should be exactly where they want the golf course. I want to toss it to Johnson, though. I have your data golf profile up right now, not to show my hand. You've had a pretty good record at Bay Hill, Wags. I'm curious, why do you think that is? What is it about this golf course that suited your game so well?
Well, I used to move the ball exclusively right to left, and I think other than just a handful of tee shots, a draw really plays well around Bay Hill. Plus, when my iron game's on, I can land it on really nice spots. I'm good at playing away from flags, and so I think just the strategy involved around that golf course is why I loved it. And I drove the ball pretty straight back in the day, so I was playing from the fairway a lot. And it's one of those few places, Pebble Beach intimidated me. Jack's place at Memorial intimidated me. I always felt comfortable going to Bay Hill. The locker room attendants were amazing. The Arnold Palmer was amazing, knew everybody's name, and I just felt comfortable. It was like a home away from home that week.
And you look at the winners, Patrick. I mean, I was thinking about, we talk about the players, the recent run at the players, obviously at Augusta National, you always have this kind of incredible list of winners. But I mean, you go back the last 9 years, you have Rory, you got Bryson, I think Molinari during his great run of excellent golf won here. Hatton's a winner. Obviously Scotty's won a couple times. Kitayama when he was playing great golf, and Henley last year, kind of the part of that run of his season where he was one of the top 3 or 4 players on the PGA Tour. I mean, the lineup of winners is very impressive around this golf course. I mean, I think it's a lot of it's because it's so demanding.
It was weird how I've got it up right here, from 06 through 2020, only 2 Americans won. Granted, Tiger Woods won a boatload of those tournaments, and then Matt Every, of course, went back-to-back also. I know he has some great tales about both of those victories at Bay Hill. But a lot of Europeans and international, Leishman and Day as well, when Hatton won. I remember it was just brutally tough that final round. He was shotgunning his putter at all different various water hazards that day and still somehow won. And then once it kind of moved into the signature event mold, when Kitayama won, that leaderboard was stacked. I mean, you had Cantlay, you had Rory, you had Spieth even in the mix. He was chipping in from everywhere that Sunday too. And then you get into some real like top 10 players with Scheffler and Henley these past couple of years. So there's no faking it around this golf course. And to tie it back in to Shane Lowry in 2024, when he squandered his 54-hole lead at the Cognizant Classic, completely different circumstances, mind you. He held the 54-hole lead at the Arnold Palmer Invitational the next week with Scotty Scheffler. Scheffler kind of blitzed the field there that Sunday, but Lowry, his game is tailor-made for this golf course too. Just a really accurate player and a great iron player too.
Johnson, the hardest par threes on the PGA Tour, would you say at Bay Hill?
I think so. I mean, it starts with the second. It's 230 yards downhill, and you are happy to place it on the front right part of that green, no matter where the whole location is. Brutal chipping, anywhere short, left, long's brutal. Yeah, and then you look at number 7, the par 3, plays slightly uphill, more of a mid to long iron. It's not overly difficult, but that green, one of the firmest on the golf course. And then get to the back 9. I mentioned 17, but 14 as well. It's pretty similar to number 7, where it plays uphill. Can't really tell where you want to land it, and the ball just ricochets off that green, trouble off to the right with the chipping area. Absolutely adore the par 3s. They require lots of different clubs into them and precision, which is the key word for the week at Bay Hill.
Johnson, have you ever hit the 15th fairway before? I'm still wondering if anybody's actually done that before. Have you ever actually hit it?
I've hit it a couple times. I finally started just hitting driver as hard as I could over that right bunker, and if it goes through the fairway, it goes through the fairway. I used to try to lay up down the left side with 3-wood, but it would hit that downslope and just shoot right through, and then you're left with a 4-iron coming out of the rough. But I've probably hit it 5% of the times I've played it, would be my guess.
Probably better than the field average if you think about it. That not necessarily a hole you find the short grass on a lot. Patrick, before we go to break, I did want to ask, Billy Horschel was talking last week about kind of score to par in terms of winning score to par. This is one of those weeks where if you get the double digits under par, you're likely going to win. I mean, do you ever care about that? Is that something that you focus on in terms of what you want from a golf tournament? Or do you simply want somebody to go out there and play great golf, whatever that is, if it's 18 under, 4 under, 10 under, whatever the case may be?
I like variety. Seeing these guys shoot 20 under and win every week at 20 under, good golf is going to take care of itself. Whoever shoots the lowest score is going to win this golf tournament. But I think a variety of winning scores is something nice, and hopefully something that the PGA Tour could lean into, and taking away the beautiful boy that was PGA National and kind of coming to Arnold Palmer and Bay Hill this week and seeing these guys get punched in the face, seeing bad golf shots get penalized, seeing good golf shots get rewarded. I think that's really all that golf fans want. They want for a penalty to be had if you hit a poor golf shot. And sometimes on the PGA Tour, especially in the bomb and gouge era, sometimes that's not the case.
Well, talk to Bay Hill. Now we're going to jump into some storylines after the break, talk a little bit about API, the signature event. And I mean, this is really, you talk about the run up to Augusta National. It starts right now, back-to-back incredible weeks on the PGA Tour. So we'll share our storylines right after this break. Back here on the Golf on CBS show, Shane, Johnson, Patrick, fellas, diving a little deeper into the API this week and just some of the storylines that we're looking for, not just this week, but potentially as we push forward the rest of the Florida swing and into the Masters. And I'll kick it off. I mean, I want the big guys to start winning golf tournaments. I know we got the Scottie Scheffler win out of the gate. I think that the Scotty world, the Rory world, the Xander world, I know we got the Morikawa win, which I think was huge in terms of the PGA Tour golf, but let's see the big boys start to get the victories. Let's see them start to get in the mix. I think we need to start kind of making that push because, as we know, with the PGA Championship move, the run of majors happens, and that it happens very fast, and you want those guys to be clicking on all cylinders when you get there. So that's kind of what I'm looking for, Patrick. I want to see the big names start to contend and win these golf tournaments.
Yeah, that kind of feeds into mine, Shane, with a couple big names entering the fold. Justin Thomas making his return from injury. Same with Sungjae Im. I thought Sungjae Im had one of the most impressive seasons in 2025, making his way to the Tour Championship, despite being the second worst iron player on the PGA Tour. I think he lost something like 80 strokes over the course of the season to Scottie Scheffler, only with his iron. So I'm curious to see if he can get those clubs in a comfortable spot, and I'm curious to see if Justin Thomas can put the ball in the fairway consistently. I think the knock on JT these last handful of years, when his game has returned, he has not performed well at major championships during this run, really ever since his win at Southern Hills in 2022. So that all stems from the driver, in my opinion. I don't think he's been a good enough driver to compete at those 4 tournaments throughout the year. And this is a great test for him to see where his game is, obviously, and where that driver is specifically.
Yeah, one top 10 in the majors since that win in 2022, and that was at the PGA at Valhalla, where he kind of got himself a little bit in the mix throughout that Saturday with the great pitch in. But I mean, you look at some of the numbers, and Patrick, we talked about it last year. Some of the numbers from JT in these majors. I mean, you're talking high 70 rounds in the 80s at times, just completely off the map, really, as he kicks things off. Johnson, what about you as we get into API?
Well, I mean, gosh, what is wrong with world number one, Scotty Scheffler? He can't play first rounds of golf tournaments. I mean, the last 3 weeks, he played 73, 72, 74 in Phoenix, Pebble, and Riviera. And by the way, had they not blown the horn at Riv, he was 5 over par at the time. Who knows what he would have shot? Probably would have missed the cut. But instead, the way he's bounced back to finish T3 at Phoenix, T4 at Pebble, and then 12th out of nowhere at Riviera. He had no business finishing inside the top 15. So will Scotty Scheffler in this Florida swing, he's going to play Bay Hill, he's going to play the Players, can he get off to a good start and just go ahead like you want to see, Shane? You want to see the big guys win. You want to see Scotty just run away with these things? Well, if he doesn't spot the lead shots, I think we're going to see Scotty Scheffler win back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, I mean, Johnson, this is, to me, I mean, this is when the guy feasts, right? I mean, these are the two golf tournaments in a row that he's won multiple times, that he seems to play his best golf around. I think it's one of those, the level of ball striking typically from Scotty Scheffler, where when guys miss golf shots, he just doesn't. And these are places where when you miss golf shots, you make bogeys or doubles. And when you really don't miss a lot of fairways or a lot of greens, you're going to make a boatload of pars. Then that plays at Bay Hill and that plays at Sawgrass. And so, I mean, to your point on Scotty, this should be a run where he gets at least one win, right?
That's what I'm hoping for. I mean, absolutely. And that's why when we get to our picks, I'm definitely not picking him because I've picked him the other weeks he's played and he hasn't won. So I'm going reverse psychology on this one.
Patrick, how many more bad first rounds until you start to sound the Scotty alarm? Like if he shoots 73 on Thursday at Bay Hill, is this like a thing now? Or do you think it's just every now and again guys play poor golf and it just has happened to be on Thursdays for him?
73 at Bay Hill, I think I could grant him a pass on that, given how difficult that golf course could play. But certainly if it happens through the Players' Championship, I think something's up. But I'm with Johnson. Just getting back on the East Coast, weird stuff happens on the West Coast. He's back on this side of the Mississippi. I think he's going to get off to a nice start this week. But the thing for me with Scheffler is he's always been the king of hitting his approach shots pin high. And that really hasn't been the case, it feels like, the first or the last month on the PGA Tour season. Number 57 in terms of strokes gained approach on the PGA Tour right now. I think you can look at it two ways. One, he's still competing and contending despite that. Two, if he figures that out, watch out, rest of the world.
Patrick, one thing I was going to throw your way as well is I know you've been on this, but does the spider trend continue? Like, do we see another spider win right now? Dude. Because I know you've been killing you.
It's disgusting. Everyone's getting bit like Peter Parker. Just absolutely disgusting what's happening right now in professional golf. I mean, I wasn't rooting against Shane Lowry last Sunday, but it was just nice to see a different putter win. We need a blade to get back in the winner's circle here shortly. It's a dying breed right now.
I'm rooting for the Spieth win at Augusta, man. We could get right back in it. That thing is beautiful. Modern day putter that we like to see. I mean, it is wild to see how many spiders. I think 2 wins worldwide this past week. It has been a trend in 2026. All right, we're going to take a break, come back, and make our picks this week at the API. Scotty might have made my can win list for the first time this season. Fellas, I just got to say, first things first, I'm really proud of our picks this week. I got kind of the note of what we picked in terms of winners at Bay Hill, and very easy in a signature event week to go with Scotty or Rory or Xander, of course, Patrick. But I think we all kind of went a little off the map, which makes me proud. Before we get into who can win, I figure we can start with who cannot win this week at Bay Hill. Johnson, I'll throw it to you to start.
I'm going to start with where Patrick was talking about the 2 guys returning from injury, Justin Thomas and Sungjae M. It's too early. The one time we saw JT was at a TGL event last week and looked rusty. And I think that's exactly what we can expect out of both these guys. I think they're happy to be getting starts going into the Players' Championship in this big run of golf, but they're not going to get it done. And I hate to say this, but Jordan Spieth's on my can't win list again. He's only played Bay Hill 3 times. He does have 2 fourth place finishes. But when you look at Jordan Spieth, he makes too many big mistakes to win around this golf course because there are big mistakes waiting around every corner. I hope he comes close, but I don't think Jordan can win.
Yeah, I don't know. He's not on my list, but I'm not feeling the Jordan Spieth win at Bay Hill either. I don't necessarily think this is like the perfect golf course for Jordan Spieth. What about you, Patrick? Who do you think's not winning this week?
I got to double check because I kind of like both of these lists right now. 2 wins. So let's see. Can't win is Minwoo Lee, despite playing some really good golf. I just don't think it's a Minwoo Lee type golf course, even though, honestly, if he puts the ball in the fairway enough, he gets up and down from everywhere. I can convince myself otherwise. Same as with Hideki Matsuyama.
You can't talk yourself into a guy you're saying is not going to win.
Well, I can. It's called hedging, Shane. Come on. Hideki Matsuyama is not going to win, even though he's playing like a top 5 player in the world at the moment. And then Robert McIntyre. The approach play has been quite poor for him on the West Coast. I don't know what's going on there, but I kind of like, we kind of talked about the international winners. Bobby Mack would fit that bill too, but not this week, at least. Not this week.
Unbelievable. Hedged all of his picks that aren't going to win. That's one way to do it. By the way, Hideki, you mentioned playing great golf. Hideki Patrick Reed, former Masters winner, is going to be very high on my board as we get to Augusta National to pick up a second green jacket. I'm kind of with you in terms of who I feel like is not going to win this week, Patrick. My list, I got Minwoo as well. I don't think Minwoo's going to win, much like the Jordan Spieth thing. I don't think this is a great golf course for him. I don't think Shane Lowry's winning. A lot to take from last week, a lot to deal with in a very short amount of time. It'd be great if he came back and won right away. And then this is just to dig it right into the heart of Patrick McDonald. What
are we doing here?
Winning. I don't see him winning.
He's trending. He's trending.
It's just a pick. I figure we can play right into who you think is going to win, Patrick, because I do not think Xander's winning.
It's going to be Xander Schauffele. He's going to win the Masters too, so we can set up that Grand Slam conversation that Shinnecock Johnson was talking about. Scheffler v. Schauffele there. Tommy Fleetwood, this is another great pro shop opportunity. Great logo there at API. Need to get that before Valspar. He's going to be looking like Hillary Clinton in that meme when he walks into the pro shop there. And then last one, Ricky Fowler. It just seems right Ricky Fowler would win here.
Guy should win here. Johnson, who do you feel can win this week?
Obviously, Scotty Scheffler. And I think Jacob Bridgman, I don't think we need to he's not going to pause. He's going to continue to play good golf. He's been working his tail off. Good that he got a week off. But my pick is Jake Knapp. I mean, he hasn't finished worse than 11th all season long. His improvements in his putting from 2 years ago, he's 115 strokes gained putting, 15th last year, 4th this year. That's why we're seeing the consistency we are out of him, because that putter on West Coast greens now. I know he's a West Coast guy, but to be that consistent on the West Coast with your putting says a lot about how you're playing.
Yeah, I mean, I think Scotty's got a real good chance. Obviously had a lot of success here. I mean, I'm not going out on some sort of a limb talking about Scotty winning at Bay Hill. I think he's got a really good chance to do it. I like Tommy as well this week. As I said in a previous segment, I want the big boys to start winning. Tommy is officially a big boy, especially if he wins at Bay Hill after what he did late last season. And then my pick's Matt Fitzpatrick. I mean, he's played great at Bay Hill since 2019. Currently the best ball striker on the PGA Tour in terms of statistics. And the putter's been bad, guys. Very, very bad. But if he turns that around a little bit, I think he's got a great chance to continue a really great run here at this golf course. Patrick, you gave us 3 names. Who is your official pick?
I went with Ricky. Just something about him this week I'm feeling. I'm not quite sure. He wore the Arnold Palmer hat to TGL last night. Driver is looking really sharp for Fowler, and that tends to open up the rest of his game.
God, I mean, Anthony Kim picking up the win on Live, and then you get Ricky Fowler at Bay Hill. It feels like if that happened, we would be projecting an incredible 2026 after what we saw last season in terms of the great golf, obviously with Rory winning at Augusta, and you see the 2 majors from Scotty Scheffler. So there are your picks. Ricky Fowler on the board for the first time this season, and officially nobody picking Scotty Scheffler to win at Bay Hill, which means he's probably going to win at Bay Hill. Johnson, you got a little bit of golf coming up for you before you get back to TV, so good luck. Hopefully you find a whole bunch of fairways. Just a reminder that every Tuesday at noon, Golf on CBS show right here on CBS Sports Network. You can also watch it on YouTube at any time, and you could go back and see who we picked and who we didn't pick. Patrick did not go with Xander, which was a surprise, but excited for Bay Hill, and then on to the players we go. We'll see you guys next Tuesday right here on CBS Sports Network.